Lovely. Yeah, all
There we are.
recorded, and I've got recording up at the top of my screen as well. So
Excellent. Hi
fantastic.
everyone. This is Thomas Newman of Viva Financial Tuition, and I'm joining James Wright tonight for a webinar on passing ACCA faster. Hi James.
Hello. How are we doing today? All good?
Hope everyone is well. So we should see people. We do indeed. We see there are 39, 40. So great.
Fantastic.
Thank you for joining. Yeah.
If everyone can just post in the chat if you can hear us all right, or just let us know where you're tuning in from around the world. Go and say hello as well. And fantastic to see we've already got 48, nearly over 50 as well joining in on there. If anyone's got any questions as well, feel free to put it in the Q&A. We've got plenty of time at the end, but say hello in the main chats. Let us know where you're tuning in from, wherever it may be around the world. Come say hello.
Excellent.
So we've got Livy. Hello, Livy's from Devon. Devon's lovely down there. I've been down to Barnstable Way, and Croyd Bay is very nice. Hello to Selena. Matthew's joining us. Anna from Hampshire, UK. Hello, Andrew. Jennifer from London. We've got Dublin. Oh, right. There you go. You've got Dublin on there. From Denise Thomas.
Excellent. Hi, Denise.
We've also got Shahara on there, who's joined us from Sri Lanka. Fantastic. Gulham's joining from Pakistan. We've got Trinidad on there from Melissa, Mauritius, India, also from London. Lakshmi as well from India. Fantastic. Charlie's also from Bedfordshire, Malaysia. Laura from Leicester. Hey, look, I know, Tom.
Oh, Leicester, there we go.
I know Laura now. She saw my scarf earlier, so it's just in the background for anyone who is mildly interested about that. But thank you very much. Like to see where myself and Tom all doing lovely here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gosh, and Vantique is also from Leicester. Gosh,
there we go. The Leicester following strong tonight. Are they playing tonight, James?
We played last night. We won last night 4-3. That was quite good. So yes, Megan's from Blackburn. Got India, Afghanistan, Northampton, Trinidad. Fantastic on there.
Okay.
Well, welcome everyone. It's great to see you're all joining in there as well. And we've already got some questions coming in, which is brilliant.
Oh, good. We got the Q&A here. Okay, everyone can hear us. That's good. That's great. So I'm going to hand over to James very, very shortly. So I need to share some slides first of all, and just give me 1 second. James, you can see that okay?
Yeah, fantastic. Just put it on the main screen. So if you press F5 or if you touch the bit on the top left, it'll put it on the full screen from you.
How's it looking now?
There you go. Fantastic. There you go.
Okay. So the title of this, should go back, is Passing ACCA Fast. Okay. So the agenda for tonight then is we have a little poll to run actually shortly. We'll do that in a minute. Then I will let you know what my organization, Viva Financial Tuition, does. And James will talk a little bit about his own background. And then it's all James, really. He's going to talk through some tips that he has on getting through the ACCA qualification a little bit more quickly. And then we'll, of course, have time for a question and answer session at the end. So I think this is going to last no more than 1 hour, I would say. Okay, before we get actually into the introduction, it should come out now, or rather, I don't have to. There's a poll, okay? I'm going to launch it now. And it's just to understand at what stage of your ACCA studies you are. So there are 2 questions there. What level are you at currently? Whether it's applied skills, applied knowledge, etc. And whether you're thinking of taking an exam soon, and if so, when. So we'd be really interested to know that.
Wow, the December exam is the next one, Tom, and I know Christmas is coming soon, so I could sign you up for the advanced taxation paper if you would like me to. But
oh goodness, sounds exciting. Okay. So I suspect that not many of you will be too familiar with Viva Financial Tuition, and that's because Viva, while it has been around for about 5 years, previously has done courses for the CIMA qualification and is now in the process of rolling out courses for the ACCA qualification. Okay, so I suppose that's the headline, that Viva tries to offer elite tuition without the premium price tag, and certainly we've done that in CIMA, and we're doing the same in ACCA. So we've been around for 5 years. I'm the founder of Viva Financial Tuition. It's a purely online tuition provider, but as well as courses, we have a huge range of free resources. I'll talk about those a little bit more in a minute. We are a prize-winning online tuition provider. So we received from CIMA the Global Pass Rate Excellence Award, which is a very prestigious award for tuition providers in the CIMA tuition space. We received that in 2020. We're hoping to receive it again this year when it's announced. And there are only 6 tuition providers worldwide that have received that award: Kaplan, BPP, First Intuition, HTFT, Wisdom Business Academy are the other recipients of that award. They're also operating across ACCA, I believe. And as I said, Viva is now rolling out ACCA tuition. Okay, we've over 9,000 students, and they're based all over the world. We have very, very happy students, we believe. The latest classes that we rolled out received a 4.7 out of 5 student satisfaction rating. We're an online tuition provider, always have been. That allows us to make big savings in terms of our cost base, and we pass those savings on to students in the form of a very competitive price. And the idea is to do the same in ACCA. Okay, because we're new to the ACCA space, we're going to be rolling out a lot of free resources in the coming months. So we'll be doing webinars like this one. We'll be rolling out ACCA guides, and we'll be running free courses very shortly too. So at the end of the webinar, or rather, well, after the webinar, we'll send out an email with links to James's profile, social media profiles, where he's very, very active. And I'll send out a few useful links as well relating to Viva. It's certainly worth signing up for the email notifications that we will send out in relation to free resources that we will be rolling out in the coming months. So keep an eye on those. And that's Viva. I'm going to let James talk about his own background there.
Well, that my hair was a lot shorter then, wasn't it? It seems to have got a lot more curlier on there for you. But you've got control of the slides, haven't you, Tom?
Yeah.
So you could click it on there. But good evening, everyone. If you're tuning in from the UK, and or it could be good morning wherever you are around the world. My name is James. For those of you who have not met me before, and I'm delighted to be joined by the Viva team today, and to be invited by Tom to come and speak with you, and to actually have this opportunity to have the webinar where we're going to have the Q&A at the end of the session. So I already see we've already got a couple of questions that have got in already on there. So Barbara's put one on there, and Vantika has as well. So anything that comes to mind throughout the webinar, feel free to pop it down there. And as well, you know, I'm quite active on social media, so is Tom and the Viva team. So if you want to take a screenshot of the actual webinar itself, or just take a photo, post it online, we'll be sure to share it with our networks. And it'd be great to hear what you actually thought of the webinar as we went through it as well. So feel free to. I always respond to all of them, whether that be Instagram or LinkedIn. So that'd be fantastic to hear from you. So there are some lovely little things on there about my sort of experience but now that I'm an academic working at the University of Lincoln. But coming from my ACCA experience, I just was a regular sort of student who particularly wasn't very good at maths as well, where lots of people assume, and maybe we've got people on the call today who thinking, oh, maths is a dead cert that I need to be very good at it. Well, I wasn't particularly good. I sort of got C's at A level sort of thing. I was okay. But then going into ACCA, it was a bit of a step up. I went through the university route where I gained some exemptions from my actual degree. And then going into the examinations, I'm quite honest on my videos and on my YouTube, where I failed advanced audit and assurance and I failed advanced taxation. And now I help students around the world pass their examinations because I know what it's like. It's it's the evenings like tonight in the UK where you have to do those late nights after work when you're tired, when you're lethargic, and you just want someone there who can just give you a few tips, and a great provider who can actually give you some nice resources that are easily broken down to help you out, to just get you over the line, because we know how hard it is to get to that 50 mark. I remember when I first started my first ACCA exam, the audit and assurance one, and it was, oh, you need 50 to pass. I went, oh, that'd be fine. Yeah, 50 to pass will be, oh, I've got plenty in the bag, 100 marks to hit. When you look at the pass rates and you go through it, and going through the tuition, going through the examination process, the past papers, and it is, I'm quite a big runner as well. And I always refer back to the phrase of it's a marathon, not a sprint on these sort of things, where everyone's ACCA journey is completely different. And I'm always open on saying, I'm not one of these whiz kids who got 90 odd in my exams and did them all in 6 months or anything like that. It was a case of, it was really hard work for me, and balancing it with the work commitments. I was studying in the evenings, studying at the weekends. So I was working full time, studying before work, and it really gets to you. And just having someone who can reach out and having a supportive team around you. And as Tom kindly pointed out, Viva have reached out and we'll be doing more collaborations in the future. They've got some fantastic resources, and I'll be honest with you, the team have been absolutely lovely since we've been collaborating together, and hence why we could put on today's webinar to sort of go through some top tips that I can share with you to get you over that line. As I'm sure when we can actually have a look through the poll at the start, that there'll be some people here who've got an exam in December, which is 7 weeks away, 6 weeks away or so, which is not a lot of time. So if anyone's got any questions ahead of December or going into next year, or exam papers they want to do, feel free to let me know going through it, and I'll do my best. So should we flick on to the next slide, Tom? Because I think this will be a really good slide if anyone wants to.
Interestingly, so we're getting some detail from the poll that we launched, and 54% of students are sitting an exam in December. So that's coming up fast. And of the students, then there was a question of what stage of your ACCA studies are you currently? We've got 10% who haven't started yet. We have 25% at the applied knowledge level. We've got 52% at the applied skills level, and 15% at the strategic professional level. So very interesting to see that.
Right. Oh, over half on that one. Gosh, right. Fantastic. Well, Tom has kindly put together a lovely sort of nice and easy top tips, sort of how to pass the exams faster. But I always like to think of it as actually sort of the way you study. You've got to study smarter, not harder. So if you want to ping a few on that, and look at that, just like clockwork, Tom, as I say, it just pings on the screen because I say it so often now. But we can load up all 6 on there, Tom, and let the guys take them down in their notes. Again, feel free to get a screenshot of it on there, and we can just sort of walk and talk through some of the key aspects. And from my experience of passing the exams, failing the exams, and tutoring students on them as well, how they can benefit you ahead of December or for next year. So coming on to working smarter, not harder, about the shorter bursts and the lifestyle factors, I understand, the Viva team understand, that every student is different. Okay, we've all got different commitments, whether that be family, work, some people are studying full-time, travels on there. Okay, you have to work out, and this is the key thing to get down in your notes from today, is you have to understand when you work most effectively. So for me, it was always first thing in the morning. I'd get up, I'd have my breakfast, I'd then walk down to a working environment, which was a local library, or now that we're in sort of new times of COVID, it would be a case of, yes, working in my room or another room in my house. But I would then go for a small walk around the block, get the sun on my eyes if it's raining in Lincoln, then, at least some fresh air in me, so that when I returned, I'm fueled up, I've got lots of energy, and I would have a good burst of actual real high productive work first thing in the morning. And that would usually be past paper examinations on there, or practice questions from a Kaplan or BPP or any textbook that I'd got my hands on for it. So the reason for that as well is it's called toad theory, where if you actually had to eat a toad every day for the rest of your life, when would you eat it? Well, it'd be first thing in the morning to get it out of the way. And I also thought of it as, well, what would make today a productive day of studying on there? And it was always, if I did a couple of past paper questions, 2 time on there, which we'll come on to later, first thing in the morning, and I got it out of the way, so that whatever I planned for the afternoon, or if I've got family commitments or I'm going to a friend's event, whatever it may be, I've got that in the bank and I can look back on the day and say, yes, that was a success on it. Plus, first thing in the morning when I've got a lot of energy, I need to focus, I need to concentrate as if it was like the real exam. It's a really helpful technique to go through. And then later on into the afternoon, when you get a bit more tired, a bit more lethargic, you've probably got evening plans as well. And you think, well, what can I do that's a bit more sort of engaging with myself? Can I interact with a study buddy, or can I have a FaceTime with? Or can I actually walk and talk and read out my notes, or just make it a bit more proactive and engaging for myself? So I'm still learning, I'm still studying, but I understand and I accept that my energy levels would be lower down, and that I'd find alternative ways to still digest the information, or to put together some really productive notes that I could refer back to later on. So work out what your best study strategy is around your commitments, whether that's work, family, it could be children, you might be playing in a sports team, whatever it may be. And sometimes you have to make the sacrifice on it, where you might have to get up that hour earlier. But by getting that hour of extra studying in the tank, you look back on the day, and by having that plan written down, you go, yes, that was a productive day, and I'm having the day that I actually want to have on there. The next one we've got is getting comfortable with the actual CBE platform. And this is so underrated, where the format where you'd be actually sat by the computer and actually getting used to the system. ACCA have their own practice platform online that you can log in through your usual student credentials. You can access all the free materials on there. But this is, to get down in your notes now, really a time-saving strategy for your examination, because in the majority of exams, you're going to have a sort of Word or notebook, and then also an Excel sheet. And what you don't want to happen in your exam is that you waste time having to format it or actually lay it out. You want to actually be doing this in your practice to say, well, if I had to answer this question in a real life examination, how would I go about it on the online system? And this is especially key for exams like financial management, where you're going to have a lot more formulas on there. You've got to get used to them, and you're going to save a lot of time. So getting comfortable with the computer-based examination format saves you time, and you get into the habits of saying, right, imagine I'm going to sit down and I'm in that workstation now, clear away all those distractions around you. As you can see, I don't really have many distractions around me in my world, but little things like that is you just focus in on the task at hand. And having that focus when you're doing it in practice, in revision, can pay so much dividends in the real exam, because it just accumulates those little marks because you're not making those silly mistakes. But you've just got to get into the habit, into the discipline of sitting down, doing it to time, in the correct format. And another key thing is closing down all other tabs. So exactly like it would be in the real exam, no social media, no news, no YouTube or anything on those lines. Close it down, put your phone on airplane mode, and that will definitely help you out next time when you're coming to do your December exam, for example. Right, work-study balance, next one. This is quite key, and I'm pretty sure everyone on this conversation call is there going, James, it just never happens. And I agree with you. When I was studying myself, I put on a lot of weight. I mean, it was not good. It was not good, Tom, to be honest with you. And I'll be honest with everyone here. I put on, it must have been easy over a stone and a half, because I just didn't do the same levels of exercise, or I didn't give myself the same level of breaks on there, and managing it along with the busy periods at work. Whereas now in my working life, I do short bursts at work, really effective, high concentration, and then have small gaps where I'll go for a little walk, listen to a podcast, give a friend a call, whatever it may be. So the best thing I can recommend for you is, and this is a real key thing I wish I'd have known earlier on, it's all about friction, okay? The easier you make having a work-study balance involving exercise or getting out there, going for a walk or having balance on it, the easier it becomes for you. So when I'm currently sat here, I've got my walking shoes on, or my running shoes on, that between work and sort of sessions, I'm already ready to go. That all I need to do is just put my headphones in and get my key, and then I can go 5-10 minutes, and I come back so much more refreshed. So before this session, had a 15-minute walk around, listening to a podcast, and I gave my mum a call as well. So yes, she's all good. But it puts me in a better mood for when I come here. I'm fully focused right now. My phone's on airplane mode. I can't even grab it or anything on those lines. And it's just looking after yourself, that it comes down to everything from your food and your consumption on there, on top of it. So the studies show that doing all-nighters and being sleep deprived actually causes you to retain less information. So having good key things to get written down in your notes to improve your studying for December. First one is exercise, increasing your steps or going for little jogs and breaking up your studies throughout the day for 5-10 minute walks. Next one is getting into a good sleeping pattern. And yes, I agree, there are nights before every exam where you lose sleep because you're so nervous. And I've been there, done that. But in the lead up to it, if you're getting in good night's sleep, you're going to be so much more effective in those revision sessions. That's the second one. Third one is water, okay? You need to hydrate yourself so that you keep your concentration going. At university, and I fell into the trap of this, you sometimes say, oh, well, exactly, Tom, yeah. Lots of people have energy drinks and Coca-Cola, and obviously I'm not going to get an advertising deal for Coca-Cola now saying this, but it's a case of these things are, yes, they've got sugar and they've got caffeine. You can have a coffee in the morning, whatever it may be, but making sure you're hydrated will increase your concentration and your longevity for the day. Same thing as well, interestingly, about number 4, about food. Lots of students fall into the trap of munching away whilst they're studying, or actually having a big lunch on those lines where they feel really full and lethargic. So in the afternoon session, they automatically become like they're yawning more and they feel a lot full for it. And think to yourself as well, during your examination, would you be able to have snacks whilst you're actually doing your actual exam? What I used to do is, well, I get up, leave my workstation, go for a walk, I go and sit on a bench or go outside, get some fresh air, and then go and eat away from a workstation, because then you're getting into the habit of when you sat there in that environment, this is where I work, this is where I study, versus, oh, I do many things here. It's a case of, oh, I might watch a film, I might do this. It's just getting into better habits. And trust me, you will see the improvement and your concentration going up. It's a complete game changer for it. Because coming on to the next one there, past papers. Now, I get questions on this all the time. Number 1, where to find the past papers is the first one. They're all free. They're on ACCA's website, and the Viva team have put together will be putting together nice little collectives of where all the free resources are and how to actually make the most of them. So definitely make sure you check those out. And then, as you can see on here, comparing your solution and the actual mark scheme. Now, to add to this for your notes, number 1 is, first of all, you've got to do the past papers and the questions to time. Okay, so if you've got a 3-hour exam, there are 180 minutes in that exam for 100 marks, so 1.8 minutes per mark on there. Okay, so that's the first fundamental. So if you've got a 10-mark question, 18 minutes. And what I used to do, and I've done one video on this, is I used to put my phone on airplane mode so no one could get hold of me, and I used to have the stopwatch on there. Okay, so you put it in front of you, you press go, and you get into the mindset that you go, right, 18 minutes, it's go time now. Imagine this was the real exam. I've got to get down enough for this 10-mark question. I need 5 marks to pass it, thereabouts, okay? So then when the 18 minutes is up, that is it. Then I used to go and mark and compare my solution. So this is what I wrote. This is what the answers are. And yes, they're not going to be exactly the same. And you could quite easily put down some relevant points. But the key thing here is you look at your work and you look at the answers and you say to yourself, honestly, James, have I done enough to pass? And you go, I used to say to myself, no, you haven't. If you do that in the real exam, you will fail. But then that's a little learning curve just to get better. You will progress from that. And the more you do, the better off you're going to be. So I hear lots of students say, James, if I do 1 or 2, is that okay? I would try and do as many as possible. If you do think about it this way, if you do all the past papers available to you on ACCA's website that they've put on there for you for free, along with any mock tests like providers like Viva will put together for you, that is going to benefit you. You're going to be at an advantage going into your examination. So the ball's really in your court. Once you put in the time, it is going to be worth it on there. And coming on to the 5th point, using ACCA's resources. So we've already touched on the past papers, but the technical articles, and this is really important if anyone here has failed an exam and they're going into December and they're going, oh man, James, help me tonight. where am I going to start? Okay. First of all, I would go to the technical articles. If you failed and you've recently got your results on Monday, first thing is collate all your notes together into something that looks appealing to get going again, okay? Then secondly, I'd be going to the ACCA technical articles and having a read through and saying, right, I'm going to go through each of these one by one. Do I really understand these core concepts? And then writing notes down in words and ways that you understand them. It goes such a long way that I used to always have the CAT plan or the BPP text. I used to write my own notes on the side that, imagine this, when you come to look back at this the week before the exam, this is what is going to be on the CAT plan book or whatever it may be, but James's notes are on the side. The key words are highlighted. I've written it in my language that I understand, okay? That's a really good technique, especially if you're resetting for December. And ACCA's YouTube channel on there, along with other YouTube channels, may I also add, are very good to help you out with some tips. And again, it's when you're looking through these YouTube channels and stuff, I always reply to the comments, but it's the concentration that you need to have when you're going through them, because these sites are designed to distract you. So put it on the full screen, clear away all your desk and everything like that, and just focus in as if it was like a real examination. Because I walk and talk through some of the past paper examinations, and some of them are a bit long, but they're getting a bit shorter now, don't worry. And yeah, they're really helpful just to take you through the step-by-step process. But then it's Q&A. So you're asking yourself questions when you're going through that YouTube channel. Oh, I don't quite get this. How do I do this? But then it's not question and answer, what we're doing in this webinar. It's question and action. So that when you go to do the past papers, you go through and do those exam questions, you put that into practice. That is the key thing. And trust me, your marks will just go like that. They'll just steadily increase. And when you review your own work, you actually start to say to yourself, and feel free to write this down, I used to make mistakes on that, but I don't do that anymore. The old James of 2 or 3 weeks ago would have written waffle on that. And what happens is students write a paragraph and they think, oh, I've written a paragraph there. That'll give me 1 or 2 marks. But now you'll be starting to write more specific on there rather than being generic. To pass ACCA exams, you have to be specific. And that is where it's a case of key things to get down. Understanding the key buzzwords in the requirement is the first key one. Second key one is applying back to the scenario. And that can be everything from writing down the company's name, applying those key buzzwords in your actual answer, identifying in a question that maybe it's an 8-mark question and it said, I am analyze the pros and cons on here. Well, that tells me if I've got 8 marks for this, 4 marks are for the pros, 4 marks are for the cons. And then you look at your answer, and this is another key thing to get down. And ACCA write about this in their actual free resources. Don't just write your answer in one big paragraph. Split it up into chunks. And what you're saying there is, okay, marker, here we go. First paragraph on there. This is my first point. I'm going to leave a gap now and leave a paragraph. You've got to read this paragraph. And I think there's 1 or maybe 2 marks in there. Here you go. On to my next point, on to the next point. And if you get into the habit of writing a little plan at the top, that will definitely help you as you go through. And finally, as a runner myself, it is always a marathon and not a sprint. So this is where the goals come into it, and also writing it down. And just to show you how, technology is with us, but I am still old school. I write things down and I check them off, what I've got to do at the start of the day. And I always used to do this as a student, right? What is reasonable for me to do today? So that by setting effective goals on there, you've got to be able to measure it, is one of the key things. It's got to be specific for that day. You've got to be accurate on it. It's got to be reliable, and it's got to be timely, because probably you're going to write down the goals for what you're going to achieve that day. If you write down something that's loads and way out of what you can actually achieve, it's actually going to demotivate you. What it should be is you write down your goals on here, and then, as you can see, you sort of just check them off and go, oh yeah, I've done that one, tick it off, cross it off, on to the next one. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk, then I'm going to come back to my workstation, and then I'm going to have a productive 20 minutes, and I can really get stuck into this. And trust me, if you start to do that, and you'll see your progress, put it up, start to tick them off, you're going to be onto a winner, and you'll see your productivity go sky high on there. And finally, selecting the exams wisely. So there may be some students here who are doing potentially taxation. So that's one of the examinations, especially for the UK, where the standards, the rates, the allowances, they change every year. So it's the key thing to get written down, especially as half the people on this webinar are actually at the applied skills level, where they will have to be doing taxation at one point. June is the first sitting of the new rates, the new allowances, and all the new standards on there. So I would not be doing taxation in March, because imagine if you failed it, you've learned it for specific rates and specific rules. Then when you come into June, you're going to have to buy the new textbooks and learn the new up-to-date standards. So just little things like that can go a long, long way. Look, if you're doing taxation in December for the first time, yes, I think, one, you've got the first chance to pass it in December. And then if it didn't go quite well, then okay, you got a second bite of the cherry in March. But I would not be doing taxation, first of all, in March. I'd only be doing it in March if it was a resit on there. And just coming on to it, that to be completely honest for this webinar, and I know we've got people tuning in from around the world, but there will be lovely days where you have a really productive day and you wake up, you've got loads of energy, and it'd be fantastic. You don't have distractions, and there won't be any issues at work or whatever it may be. But just accept there will be days where you just don't feel like it. You just wake up and you go, I'm not feeling it today. Or as my brother and sister always put, James, today is not the one. Just leave me be. It's all right. But again, it's just changing that mindset to say, look, there are going to be winners and losers that go into and come out of these examinations. And then there are people out there who just haven't discovered yet how to become a winner. And then that's where I set up the YouTube channel and say, look, you can do it. These are the sort of little tips and tricks, and just waking up. And even if it's a day where you're not feeling it, right, let's just gather our thoughts. Let's start the goals. What is going to be obtainable today? And then we're going to hit some little targets, and we're going to have a productive day to the best of our ability on there. So if you start to apply some of those tips as you go through, I know I've talked for 15, 20 minutes, but they're just some of the things I know if you start to apply, you'll skyrocket for December, March, and then you and you'll be speaking to Tom and all the Viva team in 2 years time, and you'll be going, remember that webinar that I went to with you and James? That really helped me, and I passed that exam and I passed the next one. So yes, I hope that helps, and I hope that helps everyone on there, Tom. It looks like we've got plenty of questions that have come in as well.
Loads of questions. Hopefully we have time to deal with each of them.
Plenty of time.
Fantastic advice, James. I actually have a few little questions myself. I loved what you were saying about I didn't hear before about toad theory, so that's great. Removing friction, absolutely fantastic. Keeping your running shoes on if you want to get out for exercise. I suspect it sounds a lot like something I read in a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
It is.
Where that's the one. I thought it might be, yeah. So it's all about setting up your environment for success. So rather than relying on self-discipline, which fails us more often than we would want, rather than doing that, you're just configuring your environment in the right way.
Yeah.
So if if you're trying to eat well, you're obviously not stocking the shelves with biscuits and all of that. It doesn't even come into the home, and you're giving yourself then a fighting chance of eating better. So yeah, fantastic. James, how do you feel about, this is something we get from a lot of students. How do you feel about, what's the role of the textbook in studying? We see sometimes that students lean too heavily on the textbook and get a little bit bogged down. It slows them down. And I know that you've really emphasized in this section the importance of question practice. So kind of questions first, maybe text later. Is that the approach that you would take?
Well, it depends on the individual, and it depends on the exam. So take audit and assurance, for example, where when I had to do that examination, and I'd never worked in audit or assurance at that point. So I went to myself, well, okay, I'm really going to have to pay real close attention to this textbook to really understand the core competencies of it. Because if I just go straight into exam questions, then that is the full-on deep end there, where you just be reading it going, "Oh my word, what's this?" But then there'll be some people here who maybe have just passed financial accounting. They're going on to financial reporting. They may be doing producing sets of accounts at work, where they could maybe go on to some question practice at the start. But I would still definitely advocate for going through the core text to really home in and understand the fundamentals. And again, when you go through the core text, I touched on it earlier, I'd be doing that first thing in the morning when I've got the most amount of energy, and then putting it into my own words. And a really good way of going about it is that imagine the night before the exam, and you've got to look at that page, that one page out of whatever core text it may be. I've got to have James's notes on there to put it into my language and to highlight all those key things. So that's the best way of going about it if I was in one of the students' positions.
Great advice. And I love what you said about you're making the theory your own by putting it into your own words. You're writing up your own notes. That definitely helps. I would even add that if you wanted to take it a little bit further, and you mentioned having a study buddy, that you could almost teach someone else what you're learning. So you can actually, as well as writing down in your own words what you're learning, you're actually vocalizing it, and it's another way for you to really
it doesn't have to be someone who's studying ACCA. I mean, I used to tell my old housemates, you just tell your parents. You can speak if you talk to your dog or anything like that, they might listen. If they bark back, maybe they've understood it. But it's really nice to see in the chat as well that Anna, it's lovely that you're enjoying the session, and Divyas as well. I'm glad the tips and tricks help on there. Hagen's put about I'm about to book your F1 exam, so all right, just starting off on there. Kind of very scared and nervous. Honestly, Hagen, it's all right. It's the first one you're bound to be. It's a professional examination. So some of the tips for the F1 paper, especially if it's your first time in accounting, which is most likely going to be, I would definitely pay particular attention to the F1 core text, and then use the CBE practice questions on ACCA's website, and just not making silly mistakes on F1. That's a real good stepping stone, I would say, and a sort of good baseline to get yourself going. And if you're not from an accounting or finance background, do not worry about it. Honestly, just really put the time in, go to understand it, lots of question practice, and any mistakes you make, get it written down in a separate area. Hagen, that will definitely help you out on there. And Moit's just put one in the chat. We'll come on to the Q&A in the bottom, so have a little read, Tom, whilst I read this one out. I'm planning to give, again, so Moit's doing business technology exam in December, but I'm also having trouble with the MCQs. After studying, I'm able only 40% of the answers right. Moet, if you're getting 40% of them right, you need to go back to the core syllabus and really home in your understanding. And what I find with the business technology exam, and maybe you're new to accounting, is you've got to start to try and picture it in a business scenario, or referring to an actual individual, or how the theories are actually interacting with an organization. So try and picture what's happening, pick a company that you like, maybe it's McDonald's or Coca-Cola, and then say, if this happened to Coca-Cola, what would they have to do on there? And just be careful, because with business technology, you can quite easily make silly mistakes. So just be careful on that, because that's one of the reasons why people fail it. Okay, you're more than welcome, Hagen, on there. We're going to come on to some of the Q&As now in the chat, if that's all right, Tom. Is that good with you?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. There are 18 open questions there.
That's all right. So I've got one on here from Charlie. Is this being recorded? Yeah, it's being recorded, Charlie. So you can share it with your friends. I'm sure they'll be very, very impressed. It's all good. So that's all sweet on there. We've also got. I'll start at the bottom on here. So Jennifer's put, are the exams after applied knowledge also computer based? So Tom, do you want to take that one from a Viva perspective on there?
I think you've actually got a little bit more knowledge on that one, but the computer-based assessments, I think, come more at the applied, the first level with MA, FA, and BT. And after that, then it's a little bit of a mix, right?
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So Jennifer, it depends on which one you're doing, but business technology, financial accounting, so FA and management accounting are all online. You can sit them anytime during the year. They're all on demand. And then there's sort of a mixture after that as to some of them are going to be computer-based, but it depends where you are in the world at the moment. I think ACCA will put all of the applying skills-based ones all to be computer-based in the future, I think, on there. So it's nothing to be scared of, Jennifer. It's just you need to put in the practice to actually go through it and get yourself familiar with it on there. So I'm just going to put done on that one. Okay, so I'm going to come back up to the top now on here. Super stuff. So Laura's put, in regards to short bursts, how long would you suggest spending on studying each week? I struggle to do hours on end as I lose concentration. Good question on there, Laura. Short bursts, it depends if you're doing, I always used to think of short bursts as, say, question practice. So I try and put it into the burst to be a 10 marker. So that'll be 18 minutes. That will be my short burst. Or if I'm going through maybe a chapter of a core text, I would say, right, this short burst is half of the chapter on here, then I'd go away and have a break. But when you're trying to quantify your short bursts around your lifestyle, it's got to be obtainable because the world's full of distractions now. You need to find what works for you, where you've just got full focus on it, Laura, on there. But usually for me, give or take, 20 minutes, 25 minutes is a good short burst. But then I understand that there are some exams for ACCA where you've got 20 markers, 30 markers, 35 markers, where unfortunately you just literally have to sit yourself down, get that stopwatch going, avoid any distractions, and then say, right, it's hammer time. We're going to go for it right now on there. So it's just balancing up on there, Laura, to help you out. So I'm just going to put done on Charlie's one. Okay. Aventica's put, can you please give us some financial reporting tips? Oh my word, good grief. Right. First one. Okay. Avantica on there. First one is, if you haven't done financial accounting in a long time and you've got a bit of time before the exam, get out your old financial accounting books and just start to go through them and have a little read just to refresh your mind on there. Okay, that's the first thing that I would highly recommend, because financial accounting follows on to financial reporting. So maybe if you failed financial reporting before, that is definitely the first thing to do. Second thing is then, right, what knowledge can I remember? What do I need to actually build on this? And it goes into more detail. So I'd say second one is have a look at the technical articles on ACCA's website and just look through them and say, do I understand this area? Yes or no? If you don't, read it through, make some notes in your own words, and you'll be fine on that. And then the third one on there is the actual syllabus itself. Okay, so there are some just bread and butter in financial reporting, income statements, balance sheets on there, statement of changes in equity, cash flows, and also the format of financial reporting you've got to get good at. Okay, Section C is particularly difficult for financial reporting. You could get tested on a couple of areas. I do have a video coming out on this, Avantica, so stay tuned for that. It's okay, but not to make it, just don't make silly mistakes on Section A and B. That is where people fail for financial reporting. And then for Section C, not understanding the core areas of the syllabus. So yes, that was what I would say on there. Daruva?
Can I jump in, James?
Of course you can.
Also worth mentioning that, because I see that there are a lot of subject-specific questions. Viva has a series of Ask the Expert free webinars, again, coming up over the next few weeks. So we have a specific Ask the Expert webinar for FR. There's another one for tax. There's another one for audit, AA. And there are a couple of others. There's one for management accounting and I think financial accounting too. So what I'll do is I'll go in and find the link to those webinars and I'll pop it into the chat box. We'll also email them out after the session. Just want to be aware of. We'll also be emailing out James's social media profile links. Absolutely a brilliant follow across the different channels. We'll do that after this session.
Oh, lovely. Oh, cheers, Tom. That's all right. I mean, those webinars where you can have someone who teaches tax on a day-to-day basis and goes through all the areas. 100%, I'd be tuning into those. Definitely on there. So we've got Ashan's put. I'm starting from the actual foundation paper. Is it possible to do one paper in a month on there? It all depends, Ashan, and it will depend for quite a lot of people on this webinar. If you are completely new to accounting and you're doing the first 3 papers, it may take a bit more than a month on there because you are going to have to really home in and understand the core concepts. And to be honest with you, 1 month puts a lot of pressure on you when it's your first examinations of a professional level. So again, it comes down to your situation. You may be working full time, you have other commitments on there, but you can do these exams on demand. So you can actually give yourself 6 weeks or 2 months or something on those lines. Make sure that you are ready for the exam rather than doing the exam, not being prepared, because as ever, fail to prepare. We all know, Tom, prepare to fail. So Ashan, just bear that in mind. Give yourself a bit of time. Should be all good on there. Barbara's on there. I still have financial management, tax and PM to complete. Which paper should I take first in March 2022? Oh, interesting on there. I'm assuming there, Barbara, that you're not doing one in December, having Christmas off maybe and feet up for it. I'd be definitely doing tax, as we touched on before, in June 2022. And then it's going to be a way up between, well, if you work in financial management or have a look through the performance management syllabus, think which one you would either, if you work in them, pick that one, okay, because you're going to have a bit more momentum, especially over the winter periods when it's going to be a bit cold and not very, appealing to work on there. That's what I would be considering. Make it as easy as possible for yourself and then do tax in June and then do the other one that you pick on there. So that's what I would be going for. You will know which one you fancy out of financial management and performance management. The one you feel more comfortable with, go for that. Cecilia, hello. I have advanced performance management, SBR, and advanced audit and assurance left. Next up is APM in March 2022. Do you think that's a good plan? Any tips for the 3 remaining? Well, the first tip, Cecilia, is definitely you've got to do SBR before the advanced audit and assurance, okay? Because there are core concepts in SBR that flow into advanced audit and assurance. So first tip is I would not do SBR and audit and assurance together because that could be a big recipe for disaster on there. I think doing APM in March is perfectly fine. Then I'll be thinking of doing SBR in June and then hopefully advanced audit and assurance in September on there, but definitely SBR before audit and assurance, just to get that on record, okay? But yeah, looking like that, giving yourself December off and then starting March, okay? That's all good. So happy on that one, that's all sweet. Daruva's put, I feel so sad I've failed F3. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, exam twice. I've lost complete motivation. I request you please advise to overcome this situation. So how do you pass financial accounting on there if you failed it twice? Well, first of all, I'm really sorry to hear that, Daruva. But the next key thing is there are some things in financial accounting you just have to know. And it's a tough exam because if you don't get financial accounting, then it's going to be really tough when you come on to financial reporting and then onto the actual strategic papers. If you failed financial accounting twice, it really says to me that you haven't understood the core concepts of actually what financial accounting is and understanding how it works and how it applies within a business. So have a look back at your syllabus to say, and go through chapter by chapter and say to yourself, have I really understood these core concepts here? That's one of the key things I would say for that. And secondly, for financial accounting, you've got to be good at the online question-based platform. That is one of the key reasons why students fail, and the external examiner tells us that every sitting. So more question practice, and then go back through the syllabus to see which areas that you weren't particularly comfortable on. And as well, I always say, write down your number that you failed on. That's another key thing that I always advise to students. So whether you got 20 or whether you got 49, write it on a piece of paper, stick it up on your wall. And what that does for you is anyone who comes into your house will ask you, James, why have you got a 49 on your fridge? Got you. There you go. Welcome to accountability. Indeed. And then your neighbor will know about it, or whoever you live with will know about it. But the other good thing about it is that when you come in from work, or when you've had a long day and you said to yourself, I'm going to do an hour or two of studying. And what usually would happen is you maybe sit on the sofa or sit on your bed and think, oh, I'm just going to chill tonight. I'm just not going to do anything. Then you see that number, game changer, because then you say, I know my why. I know my why. And it just changes your mindset and you get going again. So give that a try. Trust me on it. It will work for you. Moit's put, I'm planning to give my business technology exam in December, but I'm having trouble with the MCQs, studying a lot. I'm able to have only 40% of the answers right. Oh, we touched on that one earlier, so that's all good. Moit's going to be doing using that practice platform and definitely looking back at his core text on there. Hello, Charlie. Hello. I'm sitting financial reporting in December. Well, treating yourself there, Charlie. It's all good. This is my last skills paper, but I've now sat it 4 times. I'm getting 35 marks to 47. Oh my gosh, that's so close. And I'm really struggling with what to do to prepare for December so that I know I will pass. Well, we touched on it earlier with another financial reporting question, but especially if this is your last examination of the applied level, it's probably been a long time since you've actually covered financial accounting. So if you've still got your books for that, have a look through there. The next one is use the ACCA free resources to actually go through the technical articles. And they've also got an examiner's analysis, I believe it's called, on there to say, this is an answer, especially for section C, that would pass. And this is an answer written by a student that would fail. And it's a really helpful free tool that you can go through and use. And it puts it in perspective that when you review your answers, especially for section C, that you understand what they're looking for, because you've got to be really specific, especially on the narrative questions on there. Sections A and B is all about concentration as you go through, not to make silly mistakes and applying that core knowledge. So the more practice questions you do on that and to time, I always say as well, if you can pinch a bit of time out of section A and apply it to sections B and C, then they're the trickier areas. So that's what I'd be saying, Charlie. And if I was you, I know you found it 4 times, but I would write down every single number. Honestly, I'd write down every single number, put it on your fridge, or if you're feeling brave, put it at work. That will be a very tricky one. So yeah, put it at home. And then there'll be the days before December, you'll be there going, right, I'm going to go into this psychologically there, especially 47 was the last one you did. There'll be some students who are sitting in December who have never done financial reporting and they're trying to pass in 7 weeks. I'd be thinking, if I was you, Charlie, I've already got 47. All I'm looking for is 3 marks. I just need 3 more marks. I'm already at a really good standard. And the more question practice I do, the more time I put in, you'll be there 50 plus. And you'll drop me a message on Instagram to say, yeah, James, I won't need those numbers anymore. Be all good. Super. So we're all good on that one, Tom. Sharoon's put, how many past papers should be done based on your experience? Sharoon, what you need to do with the past papers is start from the earliest and work your way back. The more you do, the better. But it's all about doing it to time, then reviewing your answers, and then thirdly, having an honest talk to yourself to say, James or Sharoon, was that good enough to pass? Where did I make silly mistakes? And then getting a separate piece of paper and writing it down so it's all together collectively. Because what you don't want is to have all these notes dotted around, and then you just want the night before the exam, all of the things you didn't know from the past papers, all collectively in one area. You'll be on to a winner, Sharoon, on there. Sweet. Megan's put, I'm currently studying online. I know, Megan, tough one, it's all good. But however, my employer has offered me the chance to go in-person tuition BPP or Kaplan or university. Do you feel in-person is better for ACCA? How does it differ from online? Well, it all comes down to the person, I would say, first of all, what they prefer. But some of the providers out there, such as Viva as well, are just such high standards now, and the actual support that you get around it, and the free webinars that we have like on this evening, and the experts that they get in who also help and collaborate with them to help students out, can be that real guidance as well that some people, if maybe for BPP or Kaplan or anything on those lines face to face, yeah, you're in the working environment when you're actually there. And yes, what am I doing here face to face if I'm not going to be studying? So it comes down to your personal preferences. I mean, online offers real flexibility on it, and can be really cost effective. It really just depends for your preferences on there. But again, get in contact with the providers, see what they can actually offer, attend the free webinars, and you pick based on what you think. I mean, you're here this evening, so it's a case of, you know, it's good. So based on that, just get in touch with the team, drop them an email, and they'll send over all the free details for you on there, so you can make a choice. Sharoon's put how many past papers? Okay, yeah, we're all good on that one. Okay, Sharoon, you're more than welcome. That's all right. Thank you very much. Anne's put, sorry, Tom, if you want to jump in on any of this, it's all right.
I'm very happy to listen. Yeah,
it's so good.
I am conscious of the time. We're running out. There are loads of questions, really good questions. We've got about 4 minutes. So.
All right. Is it going to cut off? Is it going to cut off?
It's not going to cut off. So we can go on a little bit longer.
All right. I'll be clear and concise for you then. It's all right. And I'm just starting my ACCA journey. Can you give me some tips? And just get in touch with as many ACCA students, connect with them on LinkedIn, and also attend as many free webinars like this one as well, and reach out to people for bits of advice on there. So that's definitely what I would be doing on there, and chat to your colleagues about it. Anne's also put, because I'm studying ACCA during my high school, how can I maintain both at the same time? And a good working example is write down everything that you do in one day, okay? And if you write down on a piece of paper everything that you do for school, everything that you do for studying, and everything you do in that day, you'll realize that the majority of people waste 3-4 hours probably procrastinating or just sort of doing things that you go, that really hasn't actually added to my day. And then when you say, well, what is going to add to my day? Well, studying whilst I'm at school, and then you'll get more effective with your time and balancing your time as well. So definitely on that for there. Beata's put, in relation to retakes, how to tackle 2 failures in a row with marginal 49%. Oh my gosh. How to figure out what to improve. Go back to your notes, Beata, on there. Have a look to see what your previous attempts were, and then refer back to the syllabus and have a look through, Beata, the external examiner's reports on there. They can be a bit long-winded, but they give you nuggets of information how to pass the exam, and they tell you for your specific exams on there where they actually where most students actually fail. So read that. It's going to be definitely helpful for you. Diva's put, hi James, I'm giving PM this December. Aren't you lucky? How many past question papers do you suggest you practice? I've passed audit insurance and financial reporting first attempt on there. Divya, again, it's going to come down to question practice. I've done some videos online going through section A and section B. The more questions you do, the more past papers. Section C is the toughest for PM. You could get absolutely anything on there. So if you're not prepared for budget questions, break even, all these different areas, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So cover them all on there and read the external examiner's report. If you don't read that, you're going to be at a disadvantage. We're racing through them now, Tom. Nandu, how many months is required to prepare for F2, and which study material is the best, Kaplan or BPP? I was used to study with Kaplan. I quite like them, but if you gave me a BPP text, I'd say, thank you very much. That's lovely on there. I'd say if you've never done management accounting before, minimum 2 months, minimum at least. Maybe you could get away with 6 weeks if you use it day to day, but do it in your own time. You can book these exams anytime, so it's all good. So we've answered Divya's question on there. Daruva, okay. So someone anonymous, I really like to know some reasons why you chose to complete the ACCA qualification. Really good question on there from anonymous. First one is, it's the most internationally recognized professional qualification. I've been around the world to numerous countries, and you say, "Oh, I'm an accountant." I say, "Oh, I'm ACCA," and they all go, "I'm not an accountant, but I've heard of that through someone or other." And it's just wherever I want to go work in the future, wherever it may be, I know that ACCA will give me that opportunity. And also the professional membership itself, the opportunities it's given me, and it gets me at that interview stage where I can show my value on there. So yeah, check out the channel for all the other details, and you can hear from other members around the world. Birchin has put PM for December. What will be your best advice? Also, which paper to take together for professional level? Honestly, the professional level is a step up, and with doing well, you've got 4 attempts per every year. If I was doing ACCA again, I would just do one at a time. Honestly, SBL, SBR, the 2 option papers. Every time I did 2 papers together, I passed one and I failed one. I would just do one at a time, but I was in a period where you only had 2 sittings a year, so that's my obvious excuse. You guys have got 4, so I would do one at a time on there for it. So best of luck, Birchin, on there. And we've talked about PM already. Section C, you've got to get on with that and not making silly mistakes in sections A and B for the multiple choice. Anonymous, can you provide tips for audit and assurance? F8. First key tip, apply back to the scenario. If you don't apply back to the scenario, you're not going to pass audit and assurance. I can tell you that now. Secondly is ethics on there. You've got to identify the ethical issue within the question, why it is a risk, and then how to actually go about rectifying that risk on there. And then thirdly, the technical articles, anything the examiner has written about that is topical at the moment on there. That would be what I would be definitely looking through, along with audit risk and business risk on there. Very important. Yes. Anna just put tips for F3, so financial accounting. Again, we've talked about that. It's the fundamentals. The computer-based examination for F3 is just so critical. And if you're not from an accounting background, this will be one of your first proper accounting examinations. So if you haven't gone through it, go through the syllabus in a lot more depth. So just keep referring back to it, question practice, writing down your mistakes, where you went wrong, and collating it. Use the study syllabus guide as a helpful tool just to collate it all together on there. Okay. So we've answered the anonymous one for F8 and audit and assurance. Ben's put on there, what order would you do the exams after the applied knowledge? To be honest with you, Ben, first one I would do is probably the financial reporting, because I've just done financial accounting. So if I've just done financial accounting, that links onto financial reporting, I'd get that one done first of all. Then I'd probably go and do law, or maybe do tax, depending when you are going to sit them. So I'm assuming you're probably going to do financial reporting in December. You could then do law in March and then do tax in June. That's what I would do if I was in your situation, and then treat yourself to whichever one after that. How much time Ali's put to do is enough to do for management accounting? Again, if you don't work in management accounting, I'd say minimum 2 months. Minimum 2 months. There are some real tough concepts on there. And just a word of advice, if you don't get management accounting at F2 and you just pass it and you try and go on to do performance management, oh my word, you're going to have to relook at your notes. You've got to really home in and understand it on there. Okay. Another anonymous, I'm going to be taking PM and FM in December. Aren't they lucky, Tom? 2 on there. Do you think this is a bad idea? Mainly because both of these papers have some similarities. If you're retaking any of those anonymous, PM or FM, I would focus on the retake first. If you're starting out brand new, I would only pick one, because we are 6 weeks away, and to cover a full syllabus and to do enough past paper questions on it, I would take my chances and just do one. I would, rather than just going at 2 half-heartedly. So pick the one you're most confident on. Melissa's put any guidance for performance management. They don't like PM on this, Tom. We're going to have to do a PM webinar. How can I approach the paper from the learning phase? Honestly, it's PM is all about, for section C, how you would lay out a variance question, how you would lay out break-even analysis, and just understanding all of the key concept areas. Have a look at the study syllabus guide on ACCA's website, Melissa, and go to the detailed study guide at the bottom. It breaks it down for you on there. Section A and Section B, the more question practice you do, use the online platform, because students make silly mistakes on there, because it's all, you've got different options. Jean's put, hi, what should I do to get exemptions in ICAW? So if you actually contact ICAW or ACCA have an exemptions calculator for it, where you get in contact with them, you show them your credentials, and they'll tell you how many exemptions you have. It's the same process for ICAW on there as well. So they'll say, yes, you get the first 3 papers exempt. So check that out, Jean. It's a free resource, and someone from the team will get back to you. Anonymous has put, any tips for substantive procedures on audit and assurance? Oh my gosh. Do your workings up at the top, okay? That is the first key thing. And then show how it's applied to the scenario below, and time management on it. That's the key thing. If you don't answer the requirement on there and doing it to time with lots of question practice and applying the key words from the requirement on there, sorry, we don't have a name on this for Anonymous, that is one of the key things. I mean, we could go into a lot more depth on this, but I want to make sure we answer all the questions. So I hope that helps, Anonymous. And base your answers. Have a look at some of the model answers from some of the past papers. That's a really good way of going about it, because that is the standard of a substantive procedure question that ACCA expects you to demonstrate in your audit and assurance exam on there. So that's what I would do. Treat yourself after this. Go and log on. It's all on there. Cool. Swati's put, taking exemptions from the actual knowledge level is good or not. Look, if you've got an exemption from them, you should take them, but that's saying that you have gained the sufficient knowledge from there. If you're struggling on it, or you think, oh, it's been a long time since I've actually gained those exemptions, then you can actually go through, say, some of the technical articles, or relook at your books on there to actually look into it and revisit some of the core text. But if you're really struggling on it, focus in on the syllabus and really understand the core concepts on there. Livy's put, you've mentioned Atomic Habits and quoted Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek's good as well. I like him. There are other thinkers whose ideas inspire you when helping students like us, from Livy. Honestly, Livy, great question on that. I love watching these things. First one, if you need a bit of motivation for your day, as to say, like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Les Brown is a great motivational speaker. First one, where he just sort of gets you going in the day, because that guy has come through from complete hardship on there. Okay, first key one on there. Second one, Livy, is a guy called Jim Rowan. That's all about understanding why you want to complete ACCA, because you're going to add value to the market. And then also to say, well, why am I doing this? Why am I here? Why do I bother to actually push myself? And it's all about getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because you want to actually progress in your life. You want to have a growth mindset, and you know the benefits that getting qualified with ACCA, or getting to part qualified, then getting to qualify, is going to add so much value to you on there as well. It's such a key thing. Even people like Will Smith, I listen to online, Matthew McConaughey, he's done some great talks online. So have a look at those. Dwayne Johnson puts out some good stuff. Kevin Hart as well. His story, he's failed hundreds of times on there, and you read it and you just go, he was so close to just giving up, but he just wouldn't have it, because it's in his mindset that, and the same way that I'm even going to quote Leicester City on here that I think about all the time, it's just foxes never quit. And you just get these things going through your mind. I have it when it was like for running. I never used to like hills. I watched a podcast on it, and this guy didn't like hills, and he just said to himself, you know what, I love hills, it's great. And that's why, oh my gosh, I love hills as well. I'm out running every night. I love hills. It's great. Same thing on there. So I hope that helps, Livy.
It's a great question, that one, Livy. I have one recommendation to add. Barbara Oakley, for learning effectively, okay? She's got a free online course. I think is like the most popular massive open online course that they've ever had on, I think it's Udemy. It could be Coursera, maybe Coursera. Mm-hmm. Check it out. It's called Learning How to Learn. She did it. It's quite a short course. Some very, very effective tips on effective learning. Barbara Oakley.
Super. Lovely, Tom. I've written that one down myself. Awesome stuff. Well, I hope that helps, Livy, on there. Anonymous has put advice for SBR. Key things for SBR is, if you've not done financial reporting in a long time, financial reporting builds on to SBR. So if you just pass financial reporting with maybe 50 to 60, I'd get out your financial reporting books and revisit that actual core areas on there. Then next thing is ethics will be tested on there. Okay. Third thing, current issues are the 220 markers at the end. So ACCA technical articles are going to be key on there. These are the fundamentals. But as ever with SBR, past paper questions to time management in SBR, so many students fail to finish the exam. So if you're only answering 80 marks out of 100, you're saying to yourself, I've got to get 50 out of 80. Well, every exam I sat, I made sure I answered 100 marks because then I've got the best chance of passing on there. Another anonymous has put picking between advanced taxation and advanced financial management, which one is better to do? Well, the first thing to consider is your marks from the taxation paper and the financial management paper. Which one did you get the highest in? That's the first key thing. The second key thing is, well, which out of those did you actually enjoy the most? Okay, that's the next key thing, because the last thing you want to do is, oh, I really don't want to do this exam. I didn't enjoy when I had to do the previous one. I did advanced taxation because it was the advice I always got that you need to know about tax in your life. And lots of firms, you may actually be moving into tax and a variety of other areas. And I being honest with you, Anonymous, the advanced taxation paper, I failed for the first time, then passed the second time, and I've used it so much now in my daily life and helping people out, and if I've got questions or anything on those lines. And I attend CPD events where tax things are mentioned and updates are going on there. And I say to myself, if I did not do that advanced taxation paper, I would be clueless right now on this. So yes, I'd personally do advanced tax, but it's completely up to you. But if you need to do advanced financial management for work progression, then go for that if you want to be working in wealth management. Anna's
James,
yeah.
I'm just conscious of the time.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to keep you here all night, so maybe we'll take one more question.
I think that's all right. I've got Anna on here who says, I'm looking at starting studying ACCA as a full-time student with this mind. Would 2 modules be managing per sitting on there? I've completed my PER and experience, so just the exams to be completed. It sounds like you got experience already, Anna, on there. So yeah, I mean, it does sound like you could actually do 2 modules at a time. But again, you've got 4 exams per year. There'd be no harm in actually doing 1 at a time. It's completely up to you. Some exams work better in tandem, but I've done a video on that, which ones I would do. So just check it out on my channel. It's all on there. So if anyone else has got any other questions from today, drop me a message on Instagram. Feel free to drop Tom an email as well to the Viva team. And if you enjoyed today, send us a photo, tag us in a screenshot, anything on those lines. We'd love to hear your feedback on LinkedIn or tag us in a story on Instagram. That'd be absolutely super duper. I've really enjoyed tonight, Tom. Sorry we've got a bit over.
Fantastic stuff, James. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it as well. Some fantastic questions, and I think they're still coming through. So it's been lovely. What we'll do afterwards is a lot of people are asking about the recording, so that will be made available to anyone who registered. We'll send out an email after. We're going to include all of James's social media links. I highly recommend that you follow him on the different channels. And we're going to send out some additional stuff that Viva has. So there'll be some links to the free webinars that I mentioned that we'll be running, the Ask the Expert sessions. We're doing 5 of those over the next few weeks. They are subject specific, so I would highly recommend that. And there are a couple of other links as well that we can include.
Lovely. Well, I'd just like to say as well, thank you so much, Tom, for the offer to come on today. Really enjoyed it, and say thank you to all the Viva team. They've been absolutely fantastic. All the work that goes on in the background too, to get these webinars together. And if you look in the chat now, it's just so pleasing that they've helped so many students today. And feel free to, when we get the recording or you get the Viva details, guys, be sure to share it with any of your friends, because the little tips and tricks are going to help them to pass. So yes, thank you, Amwin. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Anna. I hope you've enjoyed today. It's been good fun. I've been talking too much as well.
Thank you, James. And thank you, Olivia, who's just pointed out that one of my encyclopedia volumes is upside down. And here I was, James, thinking that they made me look smart.
Mine need organising, to be honest, around there. But yes, thank you so much, everyone who's joined today. Be sure to follow the Viva team online. Get in touch with them if you've got any other queries. Super duper helpful. And just reading the chat now, isn't it nice, Tom? It's so pleased that everyone's enjoying it. So be sure to check out. We'll be doing more webinars like this. So keep in touch and get in touch with the team.
Thanks, guys. Take care, James.
Lovely. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.